No, you're going to need video if you're sharing your screen.
How's everything going on the teaching side, Mike?
Sorry?
How's everything going on the teaching side?
It's been going okay. You know, we've got, we passed out Chromebooks to all our kids that requested one. I think the challenge we have is that not everybody has internet.
Yeah.
Sure.
And, but for those kids, we're also doing, actually, it's been pretty cool to see. I don't know what kind of participation we have, but I was just on, one of the teachers invited me to one of her lessons about an hour ago. So I was able to jump on to her class, and it was pretty cool to watch the kids. And these were kindergarten kids. So that was pretty cool.
And what are you using? Zoom or what are you using to?
We're using Google Hangouts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everything we have is Google based, and so it just made sense to use Google Hangouts.
Oh, good, good.
Worked out well. Worked out really well.
Well, good. I was wondering, for example, in Bernalillo, we're kind of frustrated here with our folks. They're doing packets because they couldn't figure out how to get it done. So.
Well, everything hit so quickly.
Yeah.
We were just very fortunate that, you know, that we had the number of devices here within the district to be able to do to issue for the kids.
Well, that's good.
It was good. It was good.
Good.
Hey, Greg, no, this is just stated.
We can discuss this. We're on our group.
Call the meeting to order. 7 o'clock. Call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. 6 o'clock. You join us for a pledge of allegiance.
To the flag.
Right. United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We don't want to see her today. Chris. Hello.
Hello.
Don't see that on here, but I'd like to have a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Member Castillo, second by Member Garay. Roll call vote to approve the agenda. Early?
Yes.
Elva?
Yes.
Lupe?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
I vote yes, so the agenda is approved. First item then on the agenda is to consider approval of the budget for the 2021 school year. Oh, we're going to, I'm sorry, we're going to go to facilities master plan.
So can we get you to speak up? The mic is not picking you up completely, and it might not be picking up on live stream.
First item on the agenda that we're going to go with today is consider approval of the facilities master plan. We have Mr. Paul Aguilar joining us today.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening.
You got to speak up also, Paul.
Okay, hang on. Let me get my volume set up here a little bit better. Okay, how's that?
That's good.
I'm as high as it can go.
Well, thank you. So good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Chavez and Ms. Offit. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Paul Aguilar. And along with me, although not online yet, is my brother Chris. Together, we have a company called Consolidated School Support Services. This is a unique time for us as we deal with the situation, and I hope that all of you are doing well and that you and your families are safe and healthy. But thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to come before the board this evening and for giving us the opportunity to work with you and your district in developing a comprehensive facilities master plan to guide the district's facilities program for the next 5 years and into the future. The plan that we'll be working on when completed will provide the district with a roadmap to determine the district's current and future needs and for addressing the changing demands placed on your educational facilities, all the while meeting statutory and regulatory requirements. This is a unique time, and we know that the economic impacts of the COVID-19 and the economic shutdown can include changes in enrollment. It could include changes in facilities usage over time and changes in community priorities. And so we want to try to capture all of these as we work with you, your administration, and the school district to identify your facility needs and how they should progress moving forward. This work and the final plan will serve to support you, the board, and the administration in meeting your educational mission, all the while addressing in a methodological way the condition of your district facilities, the educational adequacy and capacity of your schools, the demographic projections that we're expecting in the future. Plus, we want to look at surplus square footage that you may have in the district, whether your facilities are being used to their maximum potential. And in addition, we want to work with the district staff to identify sources of funding and various ways to leverage district funds. As a little background, I recently, I say recently, it's been 3 years now, served as a Deputy Secretary for Finance and Operations at the Public Education Department. And we think that we can work well with your district to be able to meet your needs and to be looking at these sorts of things. Vicki, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. My brother Chris just logged on, and I lost the video feed, so I wanted to make sure by both of us using the same link that we didn't have a problem there. So, Mr. President, members of the board, the purpose of this meeting with you today is to really kick off the process of developing your facilities master plan. We would like to take a few minutes. We don't want to take too much of your time this evening. But we want to take a few minutes to pose a few questions and to give you, that will help us identify your position as a board and as individual members of the board with regard to your district's facilities. These questions will be sent out to you via a survey tool by first thing Monday morning. And we would ask that you take the time to think about the facilities in the district and to respond to the survey tool so that we can get a sense of the direction that the board wants to move in as we move forward over the next 5 years. And as you think about these questions, please think of them first from a district-wide perspective, then from a building perspective, and then finally, as all board members have specific interests, look at them from specific projects that you're interested in seeing accomplished over the next 5 years. As we consider the questions, or as you consider the questions, please think about them from your perspective, both as a board member, but also as an individual member of the community, because we'll be conducting an in-depth and technical analysis of the district facilities, and we'll be inviting public input in more formal community meetings so that we can think about facility priorities and also operations related priorities. So again, think of them from your perspective, what you think are important, both again as a board member, but also as a community member. We know, especially in these times, the focus of educational facilities sometimes isn't education. It becomes a support function, and we want to be able to think about those things in the future. And Hatch actually has a unique situation that you've dealt with emergencies in the past where you've had to use your facilities for other than educational purposes. And I think you have a fine history of being able to do that and think broad-based about the community. Each of you will have a different take on the facility needs of the district. And I think that's important because we want to get the view of the board as a whole and get a broad-based picture of the districts and its facility needs. With that, we also wanted to lay out the process we'll be following to complete our work. Shortly after we deliver the questionnaire to you, we will begin scheduling community meetings to receive public input and comment. In a perfect world, we would love to do that in person in Hatch and in Garfield, but given the uncertainty of the moment, it's unclear if this will be possible. We're going to give it a shot. But we have received authority from the Public School Facilities Authority to use virtual meetings and other means of technology to meet the public input components for the facility master plan. As such, we will prepare an input survey that will be delivered via email to all parents of record with the district. We'll also deliver questionnaires to all the staff of the Hatch Valley schools. And we recognize that some parents may not have email access or access to technology, and we will also make available a limited number of paper copies for those parents. It's our intent to solicit as much public input as possible so that we get a real sense of what the community thinks of their schools and wants to do with their schools. Concurrently with that, with gathering the public input, we'll begin working with district staff to begin surveying the district's buildings, identifying building equipment, conducting analysis of current building usage, conducting analysis of future demographic trends, developing recommendation on future construction priorities and needs, and then develop a strategy for the district on how to meet those identified needs. And then finally, we will ensure the facilities master plan is structured in such a way that it works hand in hand with the district's preventative maintenance plan to ensure that the money the district spends on its facilities is supported for the long haul. Mr. President, this was a brief presentation. I hope it provides you with a broad idea of how we will proceed and an understanding of the process. We are really excited to be working with your administration and staff. We worked with them in the fall and had very successful interactions, and we commend them for the work that they've done so far. And we can assure you that the district will receive the highest quality facility master plan, one that will support your facilities well into the future. This lays out in broad terms what the proposal would look like. Again, we're asking, we'll be getting a survey tool to you, to the board members, and to the superintendent by Monday morning. And then we will begin the process of gathering public input to be able to move forward with this work as quickly as possible. We do recognize that there could be some complications with getting into the building or being trying to keep the social distancing components, but we're certainly want to keep moving forward with that, and we'll be working with the district to ensure that everybody remains safe, but that we can get the work completed that we need. And so with that, Mr. President, members of the board, thank you for your time, and we stand for any questions you may have.
Paul, thank you. And my name is Greg. We use first names in Hatch. So.
Okay, Rick.
We appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you up here. And I think you've actually got a great time to come do this because we don't have any students in the building.
I agree. I think that will be, I think that'll make it actually easier to get around and do the work. And Rick, I've been told by one of the senators in Santa Fe that I have title Tourette's. So it's hard for me to use first names, but I'll give it a shot.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Any other questions? So thank you so much, and good luck with your budget. I recognize that there's some trying times coming forward, and however I can be of assistance. I have some expertise in the budget process, and although it's not my job to do, I would really love to. Not love. I would be willing to work with folks and see how we can leverage your various funds to help get through this hard economic times. But and Mr. Chavez, that offer always goes out to you, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that, and Chris, I appreciate you as well. Both of you just come in and been a wealth of information for us, and especially a new superintendent just learning the ropes. And so I appreciate the knowledge that you've shared so far, and I look forward to just giving you a call and just asking you a couple of questions.
Okay, great. And is Mr. Mitchell there?
Greg, yeah.
Or Greg, okay, Greg, I'm sorry. I thought you said Rick. I'm sorry, Greg. Okay, so I'll call you Greg, and I look forward to meeting you when I'm down in Hatch so we can have a discussion about things that are important to you, sir.
Sounds good. We look forward to it.
Okay, thank you, and have a great meeting.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you,
Okay.
Chris.
Bye now.
Okay, we'll move on to number 2. And Chris, is Chris Montes still on?
I don't know what I did. I can't see anybody, but can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So Chris, I know you had expressed interest in meeting with Mr. Aguilar when he comes up as well, so.
Yes, sir.
Informed on when he's up here. Okay, let's go on to number 2, consider approval of the budget for the 2021 year, the fictitious budget.
It's going to be a challenge, yes, the ghost budget, maybe.
So if I take this piece of paper and I rip it in half, is that half the budget?
I hope it's not half. I hope that's not the kind of cut we're looking at. Boy, there's just so many unknowns.
Yes.
And that's one of the challenges that we've experienced, is knowing that we're developing a budget that is more than likely going to change. And
So we got a couple real fast facts, right? So the budget is based on a 3% increase in the unit value,
correct,
having to give a 4% raise,
correct.
and no cutbacks, even though we're not gonna have any funding next year, and think we're sure there's gonna be a cutback. So the BED is the way they told them to do it, with a 3% increase based on 4% increase in salaries.
Okay, how does that work? Right.
Well, it works great on paper.
Does it?
We've gotten really creative in our approach to all of this. And I didn't know how much detail we wanted to go into, but I just wanted to just quickly, the first page on your packet is the 955 that we received from ED, and just kind of gives us what we're being funded on. And of course, it's based on the 80th day and the 120th day count from this year. And so what's that? Oh, we can. Yeah. And from that's this year's. That's the 910B5. But the next page, the next document is what Sheila's done is she's taken last year's 910B5 and this year's 910B5. So that you have a comparison on where we actually went up, where we went down. What are we seeing? What are the trend? What's the trend that we're seeing from last year to this year? And we do have, as you go through it, and of course, this is all, the schools are funded on units, so how many units are generated and that sort of thing. And we have gone down on some of our membership. We did experience a decline in our student population. And so of course that's reflected here as well. So that was less units that we, our membership, but we had some increase in areas. And so we're currently being funded for 1,190. That is down from 1,233 from last year. And so the big hit that we experienced was at kindergarten and at 12th grade. And so those two areas. So the good news is that we've got a big incoming junior class that's coming in. We're still hoping that we'll get more kindergarten kids to make up for the decrease that we had this year. So we're always monitoring that and paying attention. You'll see in this form, is that comparison?
Oh, this is the actual.
Oh, that's the actual 19. Okay. So you'll see, there's two different columns. You'll see FY20 and FY21. First part of this is the membership, and you can see, where we're up, where we're down by grade level. All that transfers over to the different index and units that are generated from that. And again, Sheila's taken both last year and this year to do where we're up as far as the units that are generated from the membership. So from that, we have a total of, let me see, 1,432 units that are generated just from the membership.
Where do you see it? Oh, is that the 1,400? It's not right here. Switch it.
It's,
Want to look at the rest of it? Okay. This is what it looks like. Yeah. See, yeah, people? Oh,
Black numbers.
yes, okay.
So you'll see that we're actually, we're down from the previous year. Previous year, we're at 1,481 units.
We have 49 units at about $4,500 a unit.
Which is 233.
233,000.
So we're down about $233,000 just from our declining enrollment. So it's something that we need to do.
He's done some different things about that. So.
Can we speak now?
Yeah, we can scoot that closer. Rotate it a little bit.
Oh no, that owl's getting too close to me.
Yes, I know. I've been a therapist for a while.
It's up as high as it'll go.
So the next unit, the next piece is a special ed. And so it kind of gives you a breakdown of your special ed. And again, if you total all that up and do that comparison, we're actually up from 106 units to 121 units from our SPED population program. And then if you flip the page over to the next page, you actually see the totals there. And this is also taking into consideration the ancillary FTEs that are generated. So when you total all that out, we were actually up a significant number from 196 units to 241 units, which is an increase of 44 units over last year.
So that almost made up the difference.
Right.
Even though.
So while we went down in some areas, we went up in other areas. And so that is the whole premise of what we're doing is we're really looking at our units. And I'll go over here in a little bit, kind of talking about our methodology. And because what we want to do is we want to take advantage of what we can put into this that will generate more units, which then translates to more funding for the district. Okay? So we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, the next area is bilingual. And so last year we generated 62 units in bilingual. And this year, just by making some changes that we did to the program, we were able to increase 20 units to 83. So we had 83 units this year. We expect that to go up for next year as we continue to modify our bilingual programs. And so we're really excited about that possibility. PE is the same. We're being funded the same as this year for next year. We don't have any national board certified teachers, but it is one thing that we talked about the other day that the district probably really needs to look at providing some incentives for our teachers to get that type of certification.
And you put the amounts of, so at 1.5 factor times the $4,500, the school district gets $7,137 a year extra for all teachers that are nationally board certified. The idea was to give most of that back to the teachers in incentive. And ideally, you'd like a very high percentage of your teachers to be board certified.
So that'll be something that we look at for next year and years after. Just seeing if we can incentivize that whole process to get more of our teachers to pursue that. I know we've got at least one teacher that's pursuing it now. So we're hoping that we can get more people we can entice them to go in that direction. Some of these others is the size units, and you can I won't go over every single one, but you can see where we're up and where we're down. Now the at-risk units, this is a big increase that we've had, but the increase came because, well, number one, all of our student population is considered at risk. So they're funding us at 100% of our students. So that's why you'll see all 1,195 students being counted for the at-risk. Now, the other thing that happened with the legislative session this year is that they increased the unit, the weight, the index, from 0.267 to 0.325. So that added a lot of additional units for us. It worked in our favor just because of our population. And now with that though, it's also presented some challenges because they've increased this, and of course we're getting more money for it, but they've also increased the accountability that comes with it. And so we're working through that right now and how we identify that. But then also, what are some of those additional factors that we have to take into consideration as we move forward? And I'll talk a little bit about that as we move forward. But you'll see that we were able to generate an additional 57, almost 58 units. Big jump.
It's like $260,000. Yeah.
So that really saved us.
The school district should be required to do something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And so yeah. And I think one of the things that happened is last year when they put this into the SCG, there was a lot of feedback that there was a lot of questions whether districts were doing enough with that money, and it was just kind of up in the air. Everything was so new that I don't know. But for this year, this time around, they said, okay, we're going to give you more money, but we're going to increase the accountability to that.
So do you expect that to go up again, or is that set?
I think that'll be set. And remember, this is all part of that the Yazzie Martinez lawsuit. So this is the state's attempt to really start funneling money into that. But what the challenge that it's presented is that it's made it categorical. So where we had a lot of flexibility in where that money could go, now we're making it, we're almost making it categorical. So we have to label it within the budget so that we can extract at any given time how much money we are spending in at-risk. Okay. So we'll talk a little bit about that a little more in detail. 387.
That's $1.7 million.
Actually, that's 1.8 because it's based on 4,700, or unit value is 4,700.
47, so that's $1.8 million extra. So I was gonna say, that's not substantial. I had the wrong calculation here. So that's $1.8 million. Well, I guess all the heartache from that lawsuit is paid off for districts that are disadvantaged like this.
Well, and that was, as you guys know, Hatch was part of that they were monitoring and to see what the impact would be.
And Debbie too. Right?
And I believe Denny was part of that as well. Gallup, Gadsden, they looked at Gadsden also. So districts with high ELL populations and Native American students as well. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Extended learning time. This is that new program that started this last year. We're actually being funded on that based on this year's enrollment. And remember, this year we only had the middle school participating in that. And so for this year, we have submitted an application for extended learning time for our middle school, to continue what middle school is doing, but also our high school. And our high school, one of the things that they have talked about in the implementation of this is to focus on, as you know, we're doing this redesign. So it's a time to get the kids into school and experience some of those redesign classes before school starts. So it's kind of a jump start to the year for them. But it would just be focused on those flex classes that we've been talking about. So that's that. But then the other thing is, and the next piece is K-5. Now K-5 is thrown into the SEG like it was this year. However, as you guys know, when we did that decrease farm back in January, February, it was for $200,000. And that's because kids just didn't show up. Well, the state this year has given us another option to be able to participate, and that's a new program called K-12 Plus. And so we've elected to not do the K-5, instead do the K-12. Now the K-12, they say K-12 because it gives you the opportunity for all grade levels to participate. But what we're doing is we're just focusing on the K-5 like we always have, and then moving forward from that. The other thing that is less risky is that it's done through an RFR process. So that means that we send for expenses to be covered to PED, and then PED reimburses us. So it's not like they're giving us the money and then saying, oh, you didn't use it, got to take it back. Okay. So so that's one of the advantages of going the K-12 route. But also knowing that that this is part of the SEG, we also have got to put that money aside, knowing that this money here in K-5 is going to be sent back. Okay, and so so I just wanted to make that clear. But the other thing, going back to extended learning time, is our kids at the elementary level already qualify for extended learning time. So we were able to do the whole district now with extended learning time. And again, the whole point is, you know, the kids, you know, have an opportunity to have enrichment type activities, but it also generates more units for the district. So so we're really excited about that. Now, if either of these programs even get funded, as we know, there's going to be a special legislative session to, you know, we're anticipating cuts.
No cut. That was one of the first things you said. The superintendent said was to cut that.
Yes.
That money into.
So that's one of the recommendations that the superintendents are talking about right now is let's take these two programs and let's not do them. Take that money and then put it into so that we soften the blow of the cuts. And so we're hoping that is the Superintendents Association is making that recommendation, and so we're hoping that they'll do that. But again, you know, we're dealing with a lot of unknowns. We just don't know at this point. So, so as we continue on, you'll see that the grand total units were being funded for 2,688.275, which is up from 2592,308. Okay, and so the unit value this year was $4,500. Next year it'll be $4,758.10. Okay.
What's the next number there? Then that 192.69. What was that?
That's the difference in the price from last year to this year.
Okay. The difference in unit value went up by
Yes.
$92.
Which was, what was the difference?
$192.69 per unit. And then our grand total units went up 95.97 units.
Okay.
So again, as we talked, you know, we had some places where we went down, but other places that we went up. And when you total it all up, we're up 95 units, so that's good. You know, at least we're not going backwards.
Yeah.
So, given all that, last year's total was $11.8 million. This year we're looking at 12.7.
So it's 10%, not quite, about 8.5%. But you got to give 4% of it to the employees immediately. So, okay. Well, this is a budget we could live with.
Yeah,
Better
this
than it
one-
was a couple of
If
years
this
ago.
were to,
I know, right? We were at zero.
Well, if there were no cuts.
It really, it's one of the things where it's like, okay, we can work with this, we can make this work. But we know that, again, there's cuts that are coming. And so, so we're building a budget knowing that, that we're gonna have to fix it again. And so we're hoping for a legislative session in June, but they're talking, they may even go to August. But so that's kind of where we're at. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the methodology that we used. I mentioned that, one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to do everything we can to increase the number of units that we can generate for the district. But the other thing that we're doing is we're trying to also leverage some of our other funding sources, so our federal programs. So one of the things that we talked about is, and I didn't even mention it, I apologize, but there's the factor for teachers. So it's the TCI, T&E factor. And as we transition from T&E to TCI, what the state is doing is they're funding us based on teacher levels. And so a level 3 teacher will generate more money than a level 1 teacher. And so one of the things that we came to recognize is that we had a lot of teachers in our federal programs that were being funded out of federal programs. Well, when you're funded out of federal programs, you're not part of the SEG. It doesn't apply. So we're losing money in the TCI factor by having teachers in our federal programs. So what we've done is we put all our teachers into the operational account, taken some of the staffing that we have that are not generating units for us, and we put them into federal programs. So we're able to leverage more in doing that. So that's one area that we can really work to do a better job. Others, as I mentioned, bilingual, and continuing to restructure our bilingual programs to generate more units. And so that's kind of the methodology that we were coming from, is let's see what we can do to really generate as many units as we can. But the other thing is we know that there's some anticipated cuts that are coming. So we're trying to be really smart about what might happen, and if it does, then we're able to move really quickly. Such as keeping our K-5 money that we know we're going to send it back anyways, have it apart. Let's see, what else? We also, and we didn't have that in the packet, but we also did do surveys. So we surveyed the staff, and after we met on Monday with Greg and Chris, the suggestion was, let's send it out to our students as well, and let's send it out to our parents. So we actually had 2 sets of surveys, which was really cool because we were able to see the difference between what the staff thought was important versus the parents and the students. And it was really good information. And so I don't know, can you bring that up real quick?
I'm
Sheila?
trying to make it pick up my screen again.
Okay. If not, we can just go over
Sure.
the general information.
I think we're there.
Okay.
There it is.
So I'll let Sheila just go over some of that real quick.
Okay, we sent the same survey out to staff via email and posted it on our website. Then we sent it to student emails, and we got more parent responses through the email that went to the students. So the first one was, mostly employees. We had 3 parents respond to the one that was on the website. Most thought they were somewhat familiar with the budget. And when we asked them to rank the highest priority versus the lowest priority on different areas, teachers, so this is the employee one, maybe non-certified or other staff included. So teacher salary was very high as the #1 priority. This would be maybe #2. So green would be 1, blue 2, 3, it's yellow, and so on. School safety was very high as the #1. Professional development, this was placed as #4 priority. So most of the people put that as the 4th priority, but a lot did leave that at the top priority. Dual credit classes and technology. So most of our teachers have technology in their classrooms. So I think that may be why they didn't rank that
They
higher.
already had
I think because
In
they
the
have
budget.
it. So we're looking at our budget for next year. So they're looking, how should we spend the money next year? And they're saying salaries.
So Andrew gets no money next year.
Yeah, I know. But the kids did not think that, so.
Kids thought technology
Yes.
was very important. Yes.
So when we look at the average of how many people put one or two, which would be the top two priorities, teacher salary
Well,
was
this year
very
was
high,
last when you surveyed the kids.
most likely. School safety, very high. Non-teacher salary was still high. And yeah, the rest were about the same if you add them up. Next question, the last question was to select the budget priority you feel should be given to each of the following areas. Overwhelmingly, they all thought everything was important. So the teal would be very important. So general education, fine arts was important. Bilingual, very important. Credit recovery, important. Dual credit, important. CTE, this is very important and then important. So
Wow.
almost everyone thought CTE definitely needs to be funded.
And you know, one of the things that, and well, this is the staff one, right?
This is the
Okay,
staff.
we'll go over to the students, but both the students and the staff thought that CTE, which we really felt good about because it validated, you know, what we're doing at the high school with our redesign. We really focusing on CTE classrooms.
Extracurricular activities would be more your clubs and things, and then your sports would be down here. So definitely important for all of our staff. We know kids are engaged when they have other things at school. Smaller class sizes, teachers thought that was very important.
I
Technology,
agree on that smaller class.
Yeah. Technology, very important. They just didn't want to fund you. You weren't the priority. And then pre-K, everyone thought it was important.
But I think that just kind of confirms what we're talking about, you know, they didn't rank it so high in the other one, but they saw where
still
it was
think it's
important.
important.
And this is still teachers.
This is still
Yes.
teachers,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, and then, does this switch over? Okay, so this is the survey we did to the students. So most of the people that filled this out were students. 42 students and 13 parents. They did not feel very comfortable with the budget, that they knew anything about it or very familiar with the budget. And so they were asked the same questions to rank them. So again, green would be number one, and then purple is the least important. So teacher salary, they're, yeah, putting that farther down the list. Non-teacher salary, that's last.
School safety.
School safety, very high. So we definitely agree. And professional development, all over. Dual credit, technology.
So you see the difference in the technology?
Very important.
Yes, very important to students. And I think receiving Chromebooks recently, I mean, it's really brought technology to light and everything that we're doing. So perfect timing for a survey. Yes.
Yes, the TVs, exactly.
Okay. So again, 1 and 2 would be our priorities. The highest would be technology and student safety, school safety.
Nice.
Okay. And then that last question was how, what priority should each of these areas have in the budget? General ed is important and very important. Students didn't think fine arts was that important, but staff does. Bilingual classes, they thought it was important. Credit recovery, they felt was very, very important.
I'm actually glad to see that. That the students actually think that's important.
Yes, well, we have a plan with the high school redesign, hoping that they won't need credit recovery. We want to keep them on track as they're going.
You know, one of the things with this, and I know we talked a little bit about this with the redesign plan, and that is, we wait till the end of the year and then say, oh, hey, by the way, you have to make up this credit because you didn't pass. Well, with this redesign plan is we're doing it through the year, so that if they're falling behind at any given time in the year, they're going into that recovery. Yeah. So
Dual credit, very important to our students. CTE, very important. Extracurricular activities and sports, again, very important to our kids. Smaller class size was not as important to our students. And technology, very high. And we appreciated this, that our students thought pre-K was very important.
Nice.
Yes. So, I don't know if you want to go through any of that. Okay.
So, again, it just gives us more information on what the priorities are. And of course, there's some differences and as you would expect. But the one thing that I think both of them had a priority was school safety. And so those are some of the things that we're going to really look at for this next coming year is how can we increase school safety? So that'll be one of our areas of focus. So the next thing I want to do is just kind of go over some of the challenges that we've experienced in developing the budget. As I mentioned, there's more accountability now. And so we have to now we have to submit information for every one of the different funding sources that we have. And we're doing it through this process called the New Mexico Dash process. So it's a dashboard that we have to input. Well, there's 14 different items that I have to respond to and provide evidence for. And I've been working on this for 2 weeks now, and I'm up to 9 of the 14. So it's taking a lot of
It's like
time.
an audit. You have to just.
Yeah. It's taking a lot of
Paper,
time.
paper.
It is, and it's a lot of paper, and so we're moving right along. We'll have it done, but it has taken a lot of time. The at-risk factor, as I stated, it's almost like it's become categorical. Well, it has become categorical, and so to take 1.8 million, as Greg pointed out, that can be challenging when you're restricted as to what you can do with it. Okay, and so that's made things a little bit challenging. Instructional materials is another thing that's become challenging because now we still have the allocation for instructional materials, but now they're putting it into the operational, the SEG, which doesn't sound like it's a big deal. However, if we get $100,000 in instructional materials and they put it into the SEG or the operational, well, we get monthly installments of that $12 million. So we're only getting of that $100,000 that we may get for instructional materials, we're only getting 1/12 of it every month. So we won't have that full $100,000 until June at the end of the year. So it makes things really challenging while you're going through the year. And so that's another challenge that we're.
So they're just portioning it out, right?
Yes, so they're just giving you little pieces as the year goes along, but we may need it in August, but we're gonna have to wait. And so those are some of the things that we're just gonna have to look at and just get used to that process, but it may take us a year to get there. And then of course I mentioned K-5 plus and extended learning, just the whole, the risk with that, and is it going to be funded? So those are some of the things that we're looking at. The budget requirements, we did mention that the legislature allocated and put into statute a 4% average increase. So being that the average gives us some flexibility in how we go about that. Shelley and Sheila have done a tremendous job in looking at what would it cost if we manipulated that and we gave certain people, less than 4% and others more than 4% and, that sort of thing. In the end, what they discovered is that it was more cost effective for the district to just do 4% across the board. And so that's our recommendation is that we just give the 4% across for everyone. Okay. The at-risk factor, that's the other thing that, again, it's a requirement. They've made it categorical. I already mentioned that. So that was another thing that was required. Changes, there is going to be an increase of health insurance of 8%. And so when talking to the staff about the whole budget, we did a meeting, a virtual meeting with them yesterday. And so one of the things that we really wanted to point out is, a lot of times there's a misconception when they say, well, we got a 4% raise, but insurance went up 8%. Now we're down 4%.
Not at all.
Exactly. And so just trying to get them to understand that, it's 4% is on your total salary.
8% is just a portion that's being charged.
Exactly. So they're still way up, okay? Even though insurance.
What is the typical insurance bill? What is it, 10% or 15% of salary, or?
Oh, I'm not sure.
You just have to take a level 2 teacher and say, this is what the average person's insurance is, but I would imagine it's 15% of salary. So that increase in insurance costs really only 8% or 15% or 8% or 20%. It's not. So
It hurts us more than it hurts them.
It may only be 1% or 2% of the value. We're not
Yes,
our head.
yes.
Is it an increase every year on their health insurance?
Well, it is.
Well, yes, not consistent,
But
but yes.
it never goes that way.
No.
I don't think so.
All right, from there, just, so what we've done is we've taken all that into consideration. And Shelley and Sheila have just done an amazing job of making it happen from there and putting it into the different line items and doing their magic. So I'm gonna turn it over to both of them. I think Shelley's on, right?
She is, I don't think she has a mic though.
Oh, okay. She did that
Vicky
intentionally.
just texted that insurance depends on which one they choose. Blue Cross Blue Shield High is $993 a month for the employer and $735 for employee. That would depend on the size of the family, and I mean, there's so many factors.
So it's 735, but
These are the new rates.
But a mid-level teacher's making $3,000 a month, so they're getting a 4% raise on $3,000
Exactly.
to cover. It's an 8% increase on less than $1,000. So
Yes, yes.
I know.
Do you want to go through the pie chart or just?
Yeah,
talk
let's do
through
that
this?
first. Yeah, let's do that first. So, when you look at the budget and, especially when we're presenting to the teachers and everything like that, I mean, this could get like real technical and, there's a lot, there's a lot to consider. You've got functions and you've got codes and, all sorts of things. And so one of the things that we presented to the staff yesterday was this pie chart, and just getting them to understand, okay, here's the big picture, guys. And this is what it looks like. This is where our money is going. So I'm just like,
salaries is the biggest one, and is insurance the second one? Or what's the second?
Benefits,
Benefits.
salaries and benefits. So I did break this down.
About 80% salaries and benefits.
Yes. And then we also have professional services, which includes auditors, legal, anytime we contract with diagnosticians or therapists, psychologists, all of that. So it's not technically salaries, but if you look at that with the salaries, that is most of our budget. So we're lucky to not have to employ full-time all of those specialists because they would be very expensive.
Somebody asked me, and I said 85% off the top of my head.
Yes. So we have some small categories. Utilities is 6%. So we are, our facilities master plan will, help us try to address areas that we can try to save money. We have the maintenance, and this is where our property insurance is, and it did go up substantially this year, like $100,000, I think. So based on charges throughout the whole state, so different cases or whatever has happened.
So both of those, Mike, are places where you can trim actually quite a lot if you trim square feet, right? Like facilities, whether it's running the electric in the building, or it's maintaining the building, or it's cleaning the building, or whatever it is. If we can end up shrinking by a school or something like that, that makes a big difference. And then there's got to be some formula that says you need to have X number of square feet between X number of square feet per student and X number of square feet per student. I'm thinking we're probably.
I think we're high, yeah. I would imagine I haven't done the numbers.
This school was built for like the high school was built for like 790 kids. As we were growing at a rapid rate, they built
Exactly.
same increase, and then the flood hit and we lost 20% of the students the next day. And we're not back to where we were before the flood yet. So.
Well, yeah, we're just under 400. And so it was built for 700. That right there tells you.
Yeah. See the high school still was built for 700 kids. So.
And we still can't find a room for the band teacher
Oh, no, we got it. We found it.
with all that square footage.
Well, we got it, and we came up with a plan, and we're moving forward. She'll actually be in the room that she was at during, the whole mess with the sprinkler system. And
Yes.
so we're going to put her back in there. Miss Montoya and Miss Archer met, and she was happy with that. We're going to do some remodeling in there for her, and because right now it's set up for a computer lab, and so we're going to take out some of that furniture and then make it a band room. So she got some ideas, and we're moving forward.
Great. I hadn't heard about that one. But I like that.
It just happened. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Mr. Greg, are we still trying to unload some of the property
The property
in the
is up for
district?
sale. I do not believe actually that it's listed with any realtors. Is the property, any of our property, the property here or whatever is listed with a realtor?
No. They haven't been listed with the realtor, and
I wonder what they do for state property. If we do this, I wonder if there's a smaller fee rather than 3%
something to look at.
or what it is, but I think we should probably talk about getting that listed.
I think I'm gonna say last August or September, I did get a call on the property across the street. But she never got back to me. That's the only hit.
Was it somebody from a church right next to it by any chance?
No.
They identify themselves as that? No. Because the church that was next to it had asked about buying it at one time, and they had some money, but they didn't have what the appraisal value was for it, so.
Have you received anything else, Elsa? No.
Maybe that's something we should get put back on the active pursuit list, is try to get that weight off of the district and unload some of that property. Get proactive on it.
Yeah. We could definitely look at what it would take to list it, and
If you even can.
If we can, exactly.
I don't know what the rules are there.
Sure.
Disposition.
Okay. Instructional materials includes anything for sports. It's in the 1,000 category. So our computers, anytime we buy stuff for a classroom, that's in there. So we're at 5%. That of course is the maintenance. Professional development, less than 1%, but we're planning to use our federal funds for our professional development. So this includes the board travel and district staff travel, professional development.
So you remember in the surveys, the staff thought the professional development was important, and while it doesn't reflect it here, we are leveraging our federal funds to be able to provide them that opportunity.
And student travel, that would include activities and athletics. And then we've gone through the rest of them. So, do you have any questions?
I always like the pie graph because it really gives you that visual of how much of our budget.
I like that, yeah. I like that. We gotta just simple, the visual is simple.
So with that, then I'll have Sheila go over the numbers now.
Okay.
Okay, trying to explain it.
Okay. Knowing that there most likely will be some decreases to the budget, we went ahead and we added the 4%. I always like to round up. I don't want to nickel and dime bars for $2 here and there. So I did round up. And our additional compensation, if you look at the K5 plus line, the entire budget for K-5 plus is in that line. So if we're returning that and doing K-12, it's not going to affect any of our budget. If they decide to do away with K-5 and extended learning, then it'll be an easy removal from the budget. The extended contract mostly is our, social workers, they stay late in June. Additional compensation includes all of our coaching stipends, bilingual stipends, all of that is in there. There's degree stipends. I did increase that because we don't know if we're going to have a new staff member that has a degree. So I didn't want to have to do a bar for a stipend. So benefits are calculated at the rate. I increased that 1%. If there's any movement within a function, then of course our benefits increase. So
You increase the insurance by 8%.
I increased that,
Okay.
yes, the current rate plus 1. So that one I actually increased maybe 10%. So, and if a new person picks up insurance or makes a change to their insurance, you know, it's a very liquid number actually.
So how does that work on the, so both Presbyterian and Blue Cross have a high option and low option? Does the low option, I know it costs less for the employee, does that also cost less for the school district?
It does, and it's smaller percentage increase to the low, but I did 8% across.
Oh, ice cream truck.
Ice cream truck.
We did add to unemployment because we have people that may be claiming unemployment against the district. We weren't sure. Any of our substitutes had the option, so we went ahead and increased that.
What percentage did you show? Quite a bit.
Yeah. And Shelley suggested the number. I haven't written the check before, so. Diagnosticians, we went up a little. We know that we have Ramona working very hard to make sure our students are getting the services that they need. So we just increase them a little, knowing that if they're going to decrease our budget, we're going to have some money set aside to pull.
Mike, is that a place that we can bring somebody in-house to, like the electrician, when we do the speech therapist and all that stuff? This is all contracted out now.
This is contracted out, yes. So there's a need for the services, but it's so cost effective to do contract services.
We think it is still cost effective to do rather than having one person in your district do it.
Well, because there's so many different requirements on you know, it's each one of them has a different kind of credential. And so if you can hire somebody that can do multiple things, then I would say, yeah. Then probably.
Because that's a big bill.
Yeah.
That whole section there.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, we generate a lot of units for these people.
From the sped factor.
Let's generate a lot of units and then not have to spend as much on it.
Yeah, that would be nice.
You have to get the same thing that you're getting now, because now we're paying for most of these to drive up here and drive back. And we're spending a lot of money that we're not getting services for. So that's the whole thing with the services like the electrician. Probably not as bad with the electrician because we had some local ones, but the refrigeration.
Oh, yeah.
We're having to pay these guys $50 an hour driving back and forth from El Paso or Las Cruces or whatever that is.
Yeah, and we're definitely keeping on as we move forward, looking at, you know, how can we leverage our funds? How can we be more efficient?
Well, I think that Paul might be able to, sorry, you can probably look at that and tell you, you need to hire an electrician or no, you don't need to hire an electrician.
Him and his brother both have expertise that I think is going to benefit us as a district.
We did add in salaries expense in case we can hire someone part-time. So I did add that to the 2,600 line. So on the next page, when it goes sideways, you can see across the top, you have 1,000, 2,100 over to 26. So 26 would be our plant, maintenance, facilities, So I did add to that line in case we're able to hire someone part-time.
Oh, that's really that Christian.
That's our hope. So we were told not to hire any new staff from the state, so we hope it works out.
Until after the session.
Yes. Yes, after the session. So maintenance repairs, I talked about this when we went through the pie graph. We did increase electricity, natural gas, things like that, not very much. Communications, we increased quite a bit because our phones are not, I think they're coming to the end of their life. And we've been discussing the possibility of needing to get a new system.
Well, that is telling me something.
Well, to move to the IP
Because all that was
or.
bought new since I've been here, so I think it's coming to the end of my life.
So, and if we don't do that, there's money there if we have to come up with an extra bunch of money to return, so.
Priority.
Property insurance, you can see that did go up substantially. Our portion that we pay out of operational may be less than this, but the bill is actually a lot higher than this. So you know where that's coming from. Student travel, contract services. We've increased a little also because of, if we cannot buy or hire an electrician, we have money set aside for those things. This other textbooks line is our instructional materials allocation, $112,000 that went into there, plus what we spent this year. We did increase software. We're looking at buying an online system for tracking time and effort. So a clock-in system we can use on our phones. We've had a few meetings with different companies. I think we found one that it is not the 76,000, but there are several features and visions that we do not have. And so Shelley and I have been looking to see what different things we need to add to make contracts easier, readily available to our employees. They can go on Visions and do that. And so we also are looking at just implementing, we may have to do more software if we're not able to come back right away in the fall. So that's why there's an increase there.
So when you said tracking time and effort, what was that?
Like a clock-in system, all hourly
So if
employees.
they're still working from home, right?
Well, no, all hourly employees need to be clocking in and out every day.
One of the things,
We have paper time cards,
I see that, yes.
and and it's a lot of work for someone. With a payroll department of one person is very
We have
difficult.
a fingerprint system. We went from
Okay.
paper time cards, this
Uh-huh.
is 6, 8 years ago, to fingerprint system. They come in, put their finger in, they have to put their code in, walk in,
And they
and
sanitize.
then they have to walk out and they have to put fingerprint in when they walk out. It's the same way, so nobody else
No one
can
can
walk
do
in for them.
Yes.
And, yeah, we found out that we had some people, oh yeah, I'm gonna be late, can you clock in for me, that kind of thing. Can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
so it's one of the areas where we did attend a personnel law conference. And one of the things that we're falling short in this area. And so that's why we're looking at what are some of the software pieces that are out there that could help us in this area.
Better get a retina scanner or something, now you don't wanna touch that.
I know, I was like,
Touch that.
spray.
Somebody else just touched that.
I'm not clocking in. I get fired. I'm not touching it. What do you guys do like for the other schools? They bring you the time cards?
Mhm.
Somebody picks them up?
Yes.
Oh, we do that for the farm.
So,
However, it's not all of our employees.
How many? How many do you?
Talk to Barbara about the fingerprint thing, because it totals up the time. and everything, too. Usually use a time card to talk to her about it, and she'll tell you it's one of the best things, one of the biggest time savers.
most of them have an app on your phone, so it's geolocated, so you have to be within feet of your building to be able to clock in, all of those things.
So you can't be at home and clock in and say.
See, that's what I was wondering, I'm all like, I'm still in bed,
Yes, you have to be at the site.
There's also clocks out there that'll use your ID card. You just get a
Yes.
different RFID card. The high school already has those cards.
Clock in with the
And
card.
they swipe the card or they put it up against the.
But still, I can give Mike my card and just get a clock in for me. So that's why we really like the.
But yeah, but at the high school, they can't even get in the building without the card. So, you know, they wouldn't be able to give it to their teacher friend and say, hey, can you clock me in? I'm gonna be late tomorrow. Can you clock me in here? Because now they're not gonna get into the building unless they go through the front door.
You need to have one of those on each tractor.
Well, you know by what it's getting done, how long you've been on the tractor.
Yeah.
Um,
Took you how long to do that? Adrian?
Been there for a week.
Everything else is pretty much the same that we had this year. Do you see anything you would like clarification on?
Well, again, the worry is the cut. What that's
Right.
gonna be, and I mean, how do you, we approve the budget because this is the way the PED has said to do it. They've said to do it considering a 3% increase in the unit value. I feel like we can't even do it because we know it's gonna get whacked a substantial percentage. And let's have a special session now, let's get that out of the way so that we can contract the number of people we can afford instead of contracting this number of people and then having to furlough them or I don't know what we would do. So I feel terrible about approving a budget like this because we know it's not gonna be accurate.
What about the cell tower? Are we gonna make millions now that they started working on it?
Well, we don't know. That's,
They just take that out of your SCG, right?
We have to account for it. I don't know, you know, I saw that it looks like it's done.
Yeah, let's,
But I haven't talked to
last
you.
week.
Yeah. So I don't know, where we're at with that, but,
Stop by there if you see them and ask them, what carrier are they putting up and switch to that carrier.
I wanted to throw something in there, guys. I know I do a lot of research as far as the billing is concerned. That's regards to services rendered, and to me, it doesn't matter whether they state it's in the budget to get covered. I like to do the research, make sure whatever services we're getting are decent rates, the work is good, and that's what matters to me. Is the work getting done, and are we getting charged a decent rate? It doesn't matter if it's budgeted for already. We just have to be financially responsible for our budget, period. And I don't want to seem like I'm trying to be a pain in the butt by researching some of our providers, but it's just something that I do.
no, it's good.
I always think that this is how I would spend my own money. You know, it's government money, it's public money, but I wouldn't spend my own money on somebody that's not doing a good job. So I understand.
And I know Mr. Mitchell and I probably have to get back started up on that audit committee, right, Mr. Greg? At least quarterly, do an audit on a quarterly basis or something. Get back on that.
We can definitely put that in the calendar, for sure.
Is there a motion to approve the budget for the 2021 school year?
Oh, we have to accept it.
We have to approve it before it goes to PED.
Well, what are we gonna call it, Greg? What did you call it? The
Fictitious budget?
fictitious?
The hopeful, under best circumstances, if everything works out, budget.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Do we want to use uncertainty or?
I don't know what you do. I think the contracts will all have to have a disclaimer in them that it's it's based on SCG funding. If
We're already-
SCG funding's cut 20%.
We've already received a sample that has that wording into it,
Okay.
that, for our contracts, that it's contingent upon, you know, funding and the legislative session and that sort of thing. So it has the language in it that'll give us the flexibility.
The worst thing you can do is contract people, because they're making plans based on that contract, right? Can I move into a bigger apartment? Can I buy a house? Yeah, I can. And, oh, by the way, we're gonna furlough you for 20% of your days and not pay you, and then they can't make a house payment, and they're being foreclosed on.
So one of
the worst thing we could do.
One of the suggestions that I heard in one of our calls with the superintendents was, go ahead and do your letters of intent. And so that people know that they have a job.
If you have a job.
If you have a job, right?
Job.
And then, but wait on the contracts, put that off as long as you can until, you know, we find out what's going on with the legislature.
Because it'd be really nice for them to be contracted. If you know it's gonna be a furlough of 5% or 10%, it'd be really great to reduce the contracted days by that. And
Exactly.
so you know what it is, and they can plan for the rest of the year. I was holding my breath this year because last time this happened, school got canceled. I am really surprised they didn't furlough everybody, and I'm glad that they didn't, but that's what I was really worried about. They're gonna tell everybody, oh, well, you're in the unemployment line for the last 3 months of this semester. So,
Yeah.
I think we were fortunate that we got through this year.
Second.
Motion by Vice President Grice, second by Member Manolos. Roll call vote, Merle,
Yes.
Elba,
Yes.
Lupe,
Yes. Something, yes.
Chris.
Yes.
I'm gonna vote yes too. I don't think there's anything else we can do at this point. Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
School calendar.
Oh.
So the calendar, there's several calendars here. One is actually part of the process for that gets submitted with our budget. It just kind of outlines and PED and the forms that they requested. And then also, it's also the checks on, to make sure that we're following the instructional statute of instructional hours. And so that's broken out by the calendar and the days and then what is your instructional day and doing the math. And so that's what that first piece is. The second piece is the user-friendly version of what we're looking at. So last month, actually a couple weeks ago, we had reported that there was a little bit of uncertainty because of the K-5, K-12. And so now that we know that we've submitted for K-12, it's going to not be the 25 days, it's going to be 20 days. You still have to do the 25 days, but you can take those 5 days and spread them throughout the year in hourly equivalent. So, so that pushed everything back a week. And so if everything goes the way PED is thinking it's going to go, and there's no cuts, our students would actually start K-5, K-12 plus on the 13th of July. So that's what's reflected there. Our regular school year would start on the 12th of August, and then kids' first day would be the 13th of August. Okay? And we would still end before, and it's always dependent upon the calendar and how the calendar falls, but this year we have to go after Memorial Day. The way the calendar is for next year and the way it falls, we're actually finishing before Memorial Day. And so, so we're kind of back to, the tradition of finishing the school year at that time. So, any questions on that?
Seems like you've got it all covered. We'll take it.
And we do have a backup plan. The backup calendar, you all saw that, the calendar B. If for some reason K-5 and extended learning do not happen, we already have a calendar B in place, ready to go.
I still don't see graduation date set on here.
No, you know what? The graduation date is not on there because
They don't graduate.
Mrs. Montoya and the high school staff, we're concerned about, coordinating.
Tier C.
But You know,
I think when-
I think traditionally it's always been the Friday before the end of school, so that would probably fall on the 21st of May.
That's what we've been planning when we counted our days for seniors.
Yeah, because once we put it in, then TRC can ask, and if not, oh no. As long as it coincides, like all the breaks and everything within MSU, the rest just have to flow.
Yeah, graduation, I think Cheryl was gonna get on top of that one, try to get us an answer soon.
And I think, as Sheila just stated, we've kind of built everything that we have to submit as part of the budget, built on the 21st of May. Because the kids always get that last week off and a couple of days of that week of, and so we have to take all that into consideration. The next piece is all the calendars that deal with the different work schedules. So you'll see the 183 days, 183 day contracts, the 245 day calendar, the 235 day calendar, the 210 and 200. And the 178. And I see that we have all the different schedules, and so is that part of this as well? So it's tied to the calendar, so we have all the schedules that go with them. So that's what you'll see in you have your teacher schedules, level 1, level 2, level 3, your principals.
Level 2 is making 4,000, so 3,000. I just pulled that number out of my head. Good, I'm glad.
Those are all the schedules that go with that.
Who's your dean of students?
Our dean is, that's actually the assistant principal,
Okay. I'm all like, who's the assistant principal?
right? Is that right? Yes.
But then who's the assistant principal?
Oh, is that Antoinette, I think is dean.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mrs. Cisneros is the dean, yes.
Oh, assistant principal is Asti.
Mhm.
I just haven't heard that word here.
Dean of Students, fancy schmancy.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the calendar for school year 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by member Montes, second by Vice President Rai. Roll call vote. All in favor, Murley?
Yes.
Elba?
Yes.
Lupe? Chris?
Yes.
My vote is yes.
Next.
Unanimously. Consider approval of MSBA scholarship nomination. Did you guys have the list that she sent on that, Mike? I didn't see that anywhere here.
Yeah, I didn't say anything.
Oh, you didn't get the list?
I didn't get the list.
I got the list.
Oh, you got the
I
list. Okay,
but I
let me see.
didn't see it
My
here.
apologies, I thought you guys got that.
What is it? Of the nominations for
These-
Is there a Mr. Porras on the list?
who? Porras.
Mr. Porras?
Jesus Porras?
These were the names that were nominated by the high school staff.
The staff?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
We had asked them at the last meeting to give us some ideas. I mean, it's our nomination, so we can do what we want with it, but these are the
What they
people that
did.
the high school staff suggested. Let me pull it up here.
I got it.
Okay, so I think we just put those names right out there. Aline Escobar was nominated twice. Evelyn Moreno was nominated twice.
Who?
Jesus Porras.
Who was Moreno?
Evelyn
Evelyn?
Moreno.
Evelyn?
Jesus Porras was nominated twice.
Jesus Porras?
Sylvia Porras.
Sylvia Porras?
Yamale Carranza.
Yamile?
Johanna Pisano.
Johanna? Pisano?
Saul Gonzalez, Armando Escalante, and I believe it's pronounced Sheila.
Sheila Gutierrez.
So again, the three that received 2 nominations were Eileen, Evelyn, and Jesus.
Eileen, what's her last name? Eileen
Esquivel.
Esquivel. That's the one I had told you, and Jesus Torres. So how many do you pick? You can only pick one.
Nominate, vote on, well, somebody nominate one, and then we'll vote on the one.
I nominate Eileen.
Motion to nominate Eileen Esquivel, who received 2 nominations from the high school committee by Vice President Gray.
You guys can second.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Second by Lupe Castillo.
Jesus, who said it's Jesus? Jesus Torres is it Jesus? Jesus, yes.
Any other nominations?
Any more? Anybody, Cuate?
Nominate Mr. Porras.
Okay. So do you want to do a little quick ballot and just place your vote for one or the other then?
Let's do that.
So my second doesn't count, right?
What's that?
My second didn't count, we didn't second, right?
I didn't hear you.
My second, doing my second didn't count, we're gonna do this again, right? We're gonna vote instead of,
However y'all want to do it.
yeah, no, I agree with
We
you.
usually
Yeah,
only have
because
one
he
nomination,
nominated
but we have
one.
2 nominations
Yeah.
at this point in time, so.
Let me just put it out there that all the nominees are great.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, I know, that's the problem.
so,
Because I know them all, I don't know, sorry, I don't know them Saul or Armando, but I know all the others. Gosh,
I'm gonna bring your vote in.
that was good that there was a, I know, because usually there's just 1 or 2.
Chris, am I to assume you're gonna vote for the person that you nominated?
Yes.
So this will be Chris's.
Okay,
Who was nominated?
well, I don't know, you had 2?
Mine and hers?
Oh, okay, okay.
Democrats and that, you vote for the off.
She got the whole pad and started writing names.
Nominate all of them.
Okay,
If you want me to give us a count, just tell us who won. There's only 5 votes, so I hope it's not a tie.
Right.
that's not a tie.
You can't be a tie,
So
can it?
you have elected to choose Jesus Flores.
Congratulations, Jesus.
Okay.
Wait, who?
Jesus Porras.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations.
Jesus Porras.
Jesus
Porras
Flores.
it is.
So, executive session, the board will go into executive session if we have a motion. So, motion.
Second.
Motion by member Castillo, second by Melinda Hinojos. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Chris,
Yes, aye.
Lupe, I vote yes also.
Aye.
So, board will go into executive session in accordance with section 10:15:1 to 10:15:4 and MSA 1978 of the Open Meetings Act to discuss the superintendent's evaluation and limited personnel matters. No action will be taken until the board returns to open session. So is the Zoom part of the meeting being recorded, Andrew?
Yes.
Okay, so that's gonna have to be shut down in case.
Right. So we're working, I'm
going
gonna shut that down. Andrew needs to leave the meeting. We all need to leave I'm gonna end the meeting and then I can start it back up when I get notified that you're coming out of executive session, but I'll need somebody to notify me so we can resume. Okay?
Yeah, well, we can make
So is it possible for you to leave Chris hooked up with us, just Chris? Because he's attending by Zoom. Or we'll have him call. Chris, will you just go ahead and call me and I'll put you on speaker?
Sure.
Okay. And I will.
Vicky,
leave
do I
the
need
meeting.
to shut the video off and the audio?
Yes, you need to go ahead and leave the meeting.
Oh, okay, I'll go ahead and leave and I'll join back up.
Yep,
Take the
when we get
computer-
called back in.
Take the computer with you and the speaker owl guy with you, please.
The eyes,
All right.